the backup plan. You got your strategy. Now let's put that strategy to action. What is the backup plan? The backup plan is just the implementation of your strategy. You're coming up with a plan, specifics on how you're going to do your backup. Just like if you had a sports team and you have a general strategy for how you're going to go at your opponent. Maybe you can do a passing game. If it's football, we're going to beat them with a pass. Our strategy is to keep that ball in the air, to stay wide on the, they have a week this or a week that. That's our strategy. Well, it's the same thing here. You have a general philosophy, a general strategy that you've already created. Now we're going to implement that with a specific backup plan. And I have this note here, the backup should be documented and accessible. And I would even say print it out. But we'll talk about documentation later. Now, you have your backup plan. You're going to create this backup plan, but you need people to be responsible for maintaining it, for managing it, even for managing the implementation of it and the actual plan itself, and even to overview the strategy, right? Because this is not something you just do once and forget about. You need somebody watching over your backups to make sure they're done, to make sure you can restore from them. Because remember, the goal is not the backups. The goal is the ability to restore. The goal is to be able to get your files back when you need it. All right. And you need someone to be specifically responsible for doing that. Rather it's a team, but you're going to need a team leader responsible for maintaining your backups, the backup plan, and the backup strategy. What do you backup? Well, remember, we classified our data, we assessed our data, so we know what data we have. So now I'm going to determine, what do I want to back up? Disks, I can back up entire disks, entire partitions, folders, a bunch of folders. I can back up websites. Now, I'm not going to be talking much about this aspect, websites, because I'm talking more about your office computer, your office servers, and a lot of websites. Most people host their websites using a hosting provider. However, even in that situation, you want to make sure that you have backups of even your website. Even though it's not part of your office, so to speak, it's still your data. And you want to make sure it gets backed up, because a website can get hacked, a plugin can go bad, or a component can go bad that brings your website crashing and burning down. All right. And you want to be able to get it back up as quickly as possible. So you want to make sure you back up your websites. Make sure your websites are being backed up. All right. The last thing you want is to have your website go down because it got hacked and you have no way of putting it back the way it was. All right. You might want to back up your databases as well, software configurations, email, so forth and so on. So you're going to determine what you're going to back up, specifically what you're actually going to back up. Now, here's a situation that has come up. Dropbox and OneDrive. Should I back up Dropbox and OneDrive? They're both file sharing, cloud storage systems, and you may be lulled into thinking that, I can, if I delete a file, I can get it back, and so forth and so on, which is true up to a point, and which is always to that point. For example, Dropbox has a 30-day retention, so if you delete something today, you have 30 days that you can restore it if you realize that you didn't mean to delete it, let's say. If you go after that 30 days, then you've lost that file. All right, that's it. They've set the retention. Now, if that retention is okay for you, fine. All right. Now, of course, I believe if you have the Dropbox business plan, then I I think that the retention is like 180 days. You have to check their documentation. The same goes for OneDrive, except with OneDrive, you have a lot more control. At least with the Microsoft 365 plan, you have control over the retention. Like I have my retention for like 10 years. All right. But so you still might want to back up your files from Dropbox or OneDrive if you can. And there are ways to do that. But I just wanted to bring that up that you should be concerned about that data as well. And don't get lulled into just depending on Microsoft or Dropbox to keep your data safe. You have to take action to keep your own data safe. Now, I mentioned earlier about documentation. You're going to document your backup plan and you want to keep it current. Things change. Maybe your requirements change. Maybe you have a whole new class of files that you have now that you want to back up. You want to make sure that all that's documented. It's all in your backup plans documentation, and it has to be accessible. You know, if something should happen, you have to quickly review your plan. It should be right there. All right. All right. So that's the thing about documentation. Make it accessible. Keep it current.